Thank you, Frank. I hope I can live up to that introduction. What? Oh, beautiful. Thank you. I was wondering about that. Well, you know, usually I just speak extemporaneously, but there's too much in this thing, so I actually prepared a speech, which I may have to consult from time to time. I left my teleprompter at home. I figured Obama needs it a lot more than I do. But anyway, so let's start from the beginning. First principles. The issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. The 60s radicals said that, and it was one of the few times that they were really, really honest. And it's a critical thing to understand because the left doesn't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about immigrants. They don't care about the environment. They don't care about gays. They don't care about anything except their agenda. And their agenda can be described in two words: power and wealth. That's all they care about. They wrap themselves in the mantle of compassion and good intentions. But that's a tactical ploy. It allows them to seize the moral higher ground and puts us all on the defensive. And you know as well as I do that you can't win any battle playing defense. So they start in the offense, and it's all offensive tactics. They don't care about morals. They don't even believe in morals. They don't believe in the truth. So my answer is, well, then why should anybody listen to them? Their agenda, the immigration and refugee resettlement agenda, is one of their more malevolent issues. It dilutes American culture. It sucks up welfare resources. It creates chaos. It creates crime, racial and ethnic animosity, fiscal stress, unemployment among Americans. However, it cultivates a whole host, millions in fact, of loyal new Democrats. The 4 Marines and 1 airman murdered in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And while we've been focused, justifiably so, on illegal immigration, we've kind of let legal immigration, in its many various forms, slip under the radar. As Rosemary pointed out, there's over 1 million people brought into the United States every year as legal permanent residents. About 140,000 of those are from Muslim countries. About 160,000 of those are from communist and former communist countries. We are importing 300,000 people a year from countries that hate us. It's outrageous. And the refugee resettlement program in particular has metastasized. Look, we've got about 50,000 refugees coming in every year. We have asylum seekers, and a lot of that, frankly, is fraudulent. They know how to game the system to call themselves asylees. And now we have Follow to Join, which is the asylum seekers' families. And we have the Special Immigrant Visa Program, which is specifically for Iraq and Afghanistan. And while the numbers were small in previous years, in 2014 it was 10,000. We have the Diversity Visa Program, which brings in people from every third world country in the world. 50,000 people a year. And I bet you didn't know we have a special program that allows in approximately 20,000 Cubans every year. Why do we still have people fleeing Cuba on boats when 20,000 can come in a year legally? Think about that. The people who really want to come here, who really want to escape Castro, have to do so on rickety boats crossing the 90 miles between Cuba and the United States. However, 20,000 of them can come legally. What are they coming here for? What's their gig? Who are they? You damn well be sure they have been vetted by the government, and if they're vetted by the Cuban government, they are coming as our enemy. Refugee resettlement costs. Well, the basic costs are about $1 billion a year, but that's just the beginning. There's something we call voluntary agencies, VOLAGs for short. There are 9 of them, and then there are 2 primary unaccompanied alien children contractors, although the VALAGs get involved in that, and there's a whole slew of others that get involved in it. And this lists these groups and the amount that they get from the government, or at least in the most recent year, how much they got from the government. Here's a chart of their annual receipts from the federal government. 2014, it was a $1.3 billion. That's a lot of money to put in a few 100,000 people. It comes out to be about $7,000 or $8,000 per refugee, by the way. You know, they make a big deal about saying, oh, we only get $800 or $1,000, but when you see all of the other grants they can get, it winds up being a much bigger number than that. And that's not all. The Unaccompanied Alien Children Program, completely separate, almost $1 billion last year. And here's some of the special grants that they can get. The one that I really like is individual development accounts. That is savings accounts for refugees. If you want to learn how to save money, you apply for this grant, and for every dollar that you put in the savings account, up to $2,000, the federal government will grant it dollar for dollar. So if I want to put in $100, the government will give me $100. If I want to put in $1,000, the government will give me $1,000. Wouldn't that be nice? I could sure do with an extra $2,000. And they have this home-based child care business, you know, refugee women living at home with their kids. They apply for a grant, and they become at-home child care providers for refugee children. How do you like that? What a great racket. It's fantastic, you know. However, despite all of these programs, most of them don't bother, or many of them don't bother. This is represents a table of refugees who are still, after 5 years on various medical and assistance programs. 56% are on Medicaid, or they have their own refugee medical assistance program. Cash assistance, almost 50%. Food stamps, 74%. And public housing, 23%. Total, this is a conservative estimate, folks, $6 billion a year. And that does not include the unaccompanied alien children, because technically they aren't supposed to get any money, even though Obama asked for and received from the allegedly Republican Congress last fall an additional $3.7 billion to give that kind of assistance to the unaccompanied alien children, who, by the way, were not unaccompanied. There were 65,000 what they call UACs across the border last year. There were another 65,000 families who just so happened to be accompanying them, but they were unaccompanied. How does that work? Anyway, 130,000 people came across the border, and now they're all here. And the state programs are state programs that mirror the federal programs. In Massachusetts, it's gigantic. There's a 130 organization network. Massachusetts spends almost no money of its own, but it gets, I think, $20 million from the feds. And to promote this nationwide, the President's Task Force on New Americans has tasked welcoming America with welcoming refugees and immigrants. It's an 18-state organization with 52 city partners in 33 states. And their job is to create welcoming communities. They call it culture shaping. Is that creepy Orwellian or what? Culture shaping. They try to inspire in us an attitude of welcoming to these many groups who we are going to have to pay for with our tax dollars, and frankly, many of us are going to have to pay for with our lives. But we, who don't like it, are called pockets of resistance. And these welcoming America groups have created their own opposition force. They put out a report called Resettlement at Risk, where they advocated publicly identifying pockets of resistance and vilifying us in the press through organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center. And there's this new one called the Center for New Community, which has put out excuse me, something called Islamophobia Movement in America. Guess who's the #1 villain? Right there. And there's many other of you incorrigible characters named in that document as well. And then there's another one called Islamophobia, the new nativism. So now get used to it, folks. You're going to be starting to be called nativists. This movement, and it is a massive nationwide movement, oh darn, I meant to silence that, excuse me, gets tens of billions of support from radical left foundations, which vastly outnumber conservative and even moderate organizations. Tides, Ford, Soros, Gill, Public Welfare, Unbound, Kaplan, Reynolds, Arca, Carnegie, Starbucks, Gates, and many more. The end. I hope that's enough for you guys. Certainly more than enough for me. I would like to say something else, too, because despite my stated goal to read from the text, I jumped back to the extemporaneous thing. I want to tell you something. The Open Borders movement is a major front in the left's war to steal America. Their reckless ambition heeds no warnings, and our lack of awareness is creating unacceptable risks to our freedom, our security, and our very way of life. President Obama and the Democratic Party are content to allow mass murder in our midst while they coddle Islamic radicals and drool over all the potential new voters they're going to have. Congressional Republican leadership is content to allow mass murder in our midst while they feed at the trough of the Chamber of Commerce while bowing to the gods of political correctness. And if that wasn't enough, yesterday the Chamber itself shamelessly announced that it was going to unseat any Republican that opposed their open borders agenda. Illegal immigration and importing our enemies through refugee resettlement programs are pressing existential threats to our national security. Any presidential candidate who does not understand this is not worthy of the job, and in fact, any public figure who does not understand this is not worthy of any job, any public trust. These unspeakably intolerable outrages must stop. God help us find a way. Thank you.